or good morning, good afternoon. Thanks for tuning into our videocast on the travel, hospitality, and logistics horizon that we've recently released. Today, I have two panelists from Publicis Sapient here to talk a little bit about our findings in this report. I have Jagdish and Nick. Over to you guys for a brief intro.
Hi, Melissa. Thanks for having us. My name's Nick, and I run travel and hospitality for Publicis Sapient's Europe, Middle East, and APAC business. Jagdish?
Yeah, Jagdish Ghanshani. I run travel and hospitality for North America.
Great. Thanks, both of you, for being with us today. So wanted to talk a little bit about our Horizons report and some of the methodology and thinking around it. Publicis Sapient landed in our Horizon 3 synergistic sort of top tier market leader area of our horizon. And that means that it's aligned with our OneEcosystem approach, and that the strategy and execution capabilities are strong in terms of being able to derive new sources of value using partnerships and collaborating across the ecosystem. So would love to hear from you both on what you're seeing in this space and how you're helping to derive value with clients.
Okay, thanks, Melissa, and thank you very much. I think just maybe starting with the ecosystem itself, I think when I think back to what's happened over the last sort of 10 or 20 years, previously we may have engaged with clients and helped clients in a partnership perspective and delivered a lot of value from a digital perspective, a .com perspective. If I wind forward to today, what we're starting to see is as the world is accelerating and the complexity of the needs of our clients and their customers is accelerating, there's a need for this more partnership model. So the work that we're involved in now is involved with not just the client, but working with a number of different partnerships, both large and small, to solve problems for our clients. I'll give you a simple example. If we look at the world of digital identity today, as we see us leaving our driver's licenses and our passports at home, the building of that ecosystem around digital identity, around trust to make that work involves a lot of different partnerships. And that's why the ecosystem is so important for us.
Yeah, I think, firstly, I think just recognizing and being proud of the recognition that we have on the Horizon 3 report on HFS and sort of the uniqueness that I thought what the report had was specifically focused on travel, hospitality, logistics. I think it's one of its kind. So we are glad to be rated in Horizon 3 among some of the other esteemed partners there. In terms of ecosystem, I think if you think about how the industry is genuinely changing and the extent of interconnectivity between subsectors and sectors across, dining, travel, hospitality, airlines, logistics, there's a lot of common themes across that entire ecosystem. It's driven primarily by the fact that that entire ecosystem is under stress across a variety of different macroeconomic factors. Whether it's labor, whether it's fuel, whether it's sustainability, you name it. There are just so many different factors. And as those businesses are getting challenged by those factors, they are figuring out how you're going to create value for their businesses and their customers. And I guess that is the one which is actually driving the change and innovation in the overall ecosystem, which again, the kind of work that we're doing, whether it's related to leveraging data, which has now become more AI and Gen AI led, to drive that level of value creation is exciting. And we're looking forward to seeing more action in that space.
Great. Yeah, good point. So that leads me to the second question I want to ask you guys. What's next for travel, hospitality, and logistics industries? And you mentioned Gen AI. That's the big hype this year. It's something that's on everybody's minds. How do you see that impacting the industry, and what's next?
Well, I think on the Gen AI front, I think it's what's next and it's what's now already. We're starting to see Gen AI being used in all different use cases with our clients, and we're using it as well. So you've got everything from the front stage experience, and a lot of the work we're involved in now is, and the questions we're getting is, how can you have a Gen AI led experience for passengers, for travelers? And then you've got everything going back to the backstage, which is like, how do we make our operations more efficient, right? How do we make our employee experience more efficient? And even down to the work that we do is like, how do you generate code faster? How do you get to market quicker? So we're seeing Gen AI touching every aspect of our clients' business and our business, and it's already happening now, and there's a lot more to come.
Yeah, I think just to add to that, if I were to pick, certain number of use cases that are perhaps getting more prioritized over some of the others, I think for example, we are working with one of the very large clients, and we're trying to figure out how Gen AI can transform a traditional search that has always been in the industry, in a travel industry for close to decades. A traditional way of searching, where do you want to go, when do you want to go? That's typically not how customers really want to do it. So Gen AI provides an opportunity to think about how can we transform something like that, which is completely driven by simple strings, more English, and allows you to give more relevant results as opposed to a long list of search results that we are typically used to, that is delivered through indexes. So think about that use case. If that use case were to scale, it would fundamentally change how pretty much we will guests operate and interact with travel companies. That'll be true for across all sectors. That's what I think. If I further extend, I think contact center is the one which is going to be the first. Gen AI is going to take the first run at contact center. That's an easy one. It'll result in significant amount of cost efficiencies, a lot more operational efficiencies as well. But also, if you think about the kind of experience that it can create, the extent of learning and data that it gets generated and that feds back into the model, we'll see a significant amount of disruption to that contact center space. It has always been disrupted, and I think Gen AI is only going to further that. And of course, as Nick said, I do believe that we are going to see significant business agility, end-to-end business agility that will be driven through Gen AI. Everyone wants to release functionality quicker to the market. Speed to market is critical, and Gen AI is going to be a key enabler in making it happen. So if I want to pick those, sort of as three top elements that we'll immediately see shape in the market.
Super. Yeah, and that CX piece is near and dear to my heart. So let's have a placeholder of that for another conversation. So we could talk about that quite a bit. Thank you both very much for being with me today. Congratulations on the Horizon 3 placement in the report. And we'll catch up soon. Thank you, everyone, for joining us.
Thanks for listening.
Thank you.